Attack on Titan starts with a banger of a pilot episode. However, it's not uncommon to see certain viewers complaining about the exposition arcs of the show not living up to the hype. That opinion is subjective, however, as almost everyone gets hooked on the show in the second half of the season. The reason for that is the female Titan. After humanity's constant slaughter and humiliation in front of the pure Titans, people had found a ray of hope with Eren being able to turn into an intelligent Titan that could shift back and forth between his human form. This had given humanity a huge ace up their sleeve, especially because every other Titan they had been fighting was practically brainless. But everything changed when the menacing, cunning, and powerful female Titan entered the fray. But one question remained in the minds of the readers and viewers. Why was this Titan female? Was this form simply a design choice, or was its gender connected to the creation and multiplication of the Titans that continue to terrorize humanity within the walls? We answer all of these questions in today's video and offer a detailed explanation about how Titans are created. The creation of the female Titan. Can Titans even have a gender? Like every other Titan shifter, the female Titan's origin is connected to Ymir Fritz and her story, which began 2,000 years ago. She was one of the slaves under the Eldian tribe and its merciless king. She invoked the king's wrath when she freed one of his pigs without permission, which resulted in the king putting out a hit on her. To save herself, Ymir ran from the Eldian hunters and through the forests. She eventually stumbled upon a tree with a wide entrance. She thought that the tree could be her shelter, but instead, that entrance led to her falling into a body of water. While she drowned, a mysterious prehistoric-looking creature, which fans refer to as the Hallucigenia, attached itself to Ymir's spine and blessed her with the power of the Titans. As the first ever Titan, Ymir was invincible, but instead of shooting for her freedom, her slave-like mentality led her back to the king. And she not only began to use her Titan powers to aid him in his conquests, but also married him and had his children. The king used Ymir's powers to grow his tribe, which soon turned into an empire because Ymir was unrivaled. However, her lifestyle, where she operated with no sense of self, led to her losing her will to live and eventually resulted in her death from a minor injury she could have very well avoided or healed from in mere seconds. Desperate to keep the Titan powers intact, the king made their daughters consume Ymir's spinal fluid, which passed down the power of the Titans. This became a tradition among the Eldian royal family and birthed the 9 Titan shifters that we know of, with the female Titan being one of them. These shifters retained their intelligence and, like Ymir's founding Titan, could go in and out of their Titan forms, although they would only live for 13 more years after attaining their power. The royal family kept the founder, while the other noble families in Eldia possessed one of the 8 other Titan shifters. Following the relocation of most of the Eldians to Paradise Island as a result of King Karl Fritz's wishes, most of the Titan shifters, barring the founder and the Attack Titan, fell into the hands of Marley. We've already spoken about this in detail in our Attack Titan and Beast Titan anatomy videos, so do check them out if you haven't already. While Marley had been Eldia's greatest victim, they kind of became like a second Eldia after they rose in political power. They even retained some of the Eldian refugees who were confined to living within the internment zone of Liberio. Having a sizable Eldian population allowed Marley to possess the Titan powers, because Eldians had the necessary anatomies that allowed humans to turn into Titans. These Eldians were also terribly oppressed, to the point that they were brainwashed into hating their own race and referred to their own kin in Paradise as the Island Devils. However, if an Eldian from Marley could serve the military and become a Titan shifter who would aid Marley in battle against other countries, they and their families would get the opportunity of becoming honorary Marleyans, which ensured better lives. This brings us to Annie Leonhardt, an Eldian living in Marley, whose adoptive father desperately wanted Annie to become a warrior or a Titan shifter in the Marleyan military because he wanted the status of becoming an honorary Marleyan. She was rigorously trained by him in martial arts and battle, which, combined with her cold, aloof, and pragmatic mentality, made Annie one of Marley's greatest warrior candidates. She eventually ended up inheriting the female Titan. What's interesting here is that her Titan has a specific gender, even though she has never been the only Titan shifter. We've seen several women wield Titans, be it Ymir from the Survey Corps with her Jaw Titan, Frida Reese with her Founding Titan, Lara Tiber with her Warhammer Titan, or Peak Finger with her Cart Titan. In fact, the founder of Titans, the original Ymir herself, is a girl girl. But in the case of the Cart Titan, the Warhammer, or the Jaw, we don't see the Titans shift in form when wielded by a woman. The wielder's appearance does have an effect on how a Titan looks, but it doesn't have much of an impact on their physique. In fact, Titans are normally not gendered. The founding Titan's appearance does seem to reflect its holder's sex, however, with Yuri's Titan having a masculine physique, while Ymir and Frida's founding Titans have feminine figures. So why is Annie's Titan female? For starters, Japanese doesn't translate very well into English. The two languages are remarkably different in the way their grammatical syntax works and in their methods of expression. This is important in this context because the more accurate English translation of the original Japanese term for the female Titan translates into female form Titan. This means that this Titan is a Titan with a female form. Any inheritor, irrespective of their gender, will possess a feminine form if they wield this Titan. Peak's Cart Titan has a more masculine appearance, especially if you take its face into account, but Peak is a girl. It's probably the same in the case of the female Titan. The inherent form of the Titan is feminine, so any inheritor, irrespective of their gender, will have a feminine-looking Titan. However, Titans do not possess reproductive organs. Annie's Titan does have curves, and Rainer once mentions its seemingly attractive rear end, but those aren't reproductive organs. Even Hanji's research fails to give us much insight into why there are so many Titans outside the walls. Remember that the female Titans arc took place during a time when the characters knew absolutely nothing about the truth of the Titans, so there was no way they could have known that Titan shifters were passed down via consumption of the past inheritors among the subjects of Ymir. They also didn't know how pure Titans were created or what made them different from the Titan shifters. Naturally, they had a hard time trying to figure out how so many Titans existed outside the walls and how they hadn't died off, so there were assumptions about the Titans being able to reproduce asexually. Can the female Titan reproduce? As a matter of fact, can any Titan reproduce? As a viewer, the introduction of Annie's female form Titan meant that maybe a Titan with a feminine form could procreate with a Titan who had a masculine form, but we know now that something like that isn't possible due to a lack of the necessary biology. In conclusion, Annie can reproduce in her human form to create other humans, but she can't reproduce in her Titan form to create other Titans. If she copulates with a male Titan shifter, the end result will birth a human, not a Titan. But because the human child will have Eldian blood and be a subject of Ymir, they'll be capable of externally inheriting the power of the Titans. This raises the question, why do pure Titans, Titan shifters, or the female Titan lack reproductive organs in their Titan forms? Every Titan is created by founder Ymir, who has been stuck in the realm of the paths, where all of her descendants or subjects are connected to one another by the coordinate. She creates every Titan from scratch by hand and sends them off to her subjects when they wish to shift or regenerate. The reaction is instant because time moves painfully slow in the paths compared to the real world of Attack on Titan. The motive of the shifters is focused on combat or other combat-related activities. This means that they do not need to reproduce in their Titan forms, and as such, Ymir does not need to spend her time giving her Titans the ability to reproduce. However, we have seen Titans popping out of nowhere throughout the show. We were already aware of the masses of swarming Titans outside the walls since the pilot episode, but things got crazier in Season 2 when pure Titans seemingly popped up out of nowhere and then attacked the members of the Survey Corps at night. We saw even more of them in the season's final arc when the Corps ventured outside the walls to rescue Eren from the Armored and the Colossal Titan. Then, we got the second half of Season 3, where the Beast Titan had his not-so-humble army of pure Titans. Season 4 opened with the Marleyan military using pure Titans in their battle against the Allied forces. Zeke used more pure Titans against Levi in the forest, and then there was the sequence in Part 2 where several members of the Eldian military from Paradise turned into pure Titans. So, if being male or female doesn't aid in Titan reproduction and multiplication, what does? There's an answer to this that's actually quite simple if you get the gist, but without much wind of what's going on, it's hard to imagine how it would work. Fortunately, we have detailed canonical explanations for this, and as such, don't need to rely on theories and hypotheses. Subjects of Ymir, creation of pure Titans, and how Titans are actually multiplied in this verse. Every Titan is inherently a human being. While shifters can go back and forth between being human and Titan, pure Titans are more like exaggerated and misshapen humans who have lost their intelligence and emotions following their transformation. They only have their human spinal cords, which allows them to be killed by having their napes sliced. This means that despite being monstrous in nature, the pure Titans do not belong to a different species. What they do belong to is a different race. race. In this world, a person's race does have a huge impact on their appearance and anatomy. It is a known fact that certain races and nationalities are more likely to have taller people with bigger builds than others. The average Dutch man is generally much taller than the average Japanese man, although it is quite possible for a Japanese man to be taller than a Dutch guy, obviously. Overall, certain beliefs and stereotypes are biologically true, but there are no hard and fast rules. Attack on Titan takes these anatomical differences based on race to a whole new level. The founder, Ymir, was the only human in the world who had gotten the hallucigenia-like being attached to her. A similar looking creature did exist in human history millions of years ago, and is often referred to as the source of all living matter. The creature in Attack on Titan is kinda similar, except it is more like the source of all Titan matter. Every Eldian across the globe is a descendant of Ymir. It started with her children consuming her innards and spinal fluid. It led to the coordinate, which was originally a singular point that denoted Ymir branching out. Eldians were not always connected to her, considering she herself was not a part of the Eldian tribe before the people of her village had gotten enslaved by them. But with time, the terms Eldian and subject of Ymir became borderline synonymous. As the tradition of the spinal fluid continued following Ymir's death, the people of Eldia also naturally procreated with others. A chain reaction of this event across centuries created a race of people who were all connected to a single ancestor. This connection allowed Ymir to gain complete control over their bodies and minds mostly. There were special cases where the Ackermans, despite being Eldians, could not have their memories manipulated by the founder, and they were incapable of turning into Titans, probably because they were the products of Titan science. But we know about Karl Fritz's vow of peace, which prevents the members of the Eldian royal family from gaining complete access to the founder's powers. There's also the issue with Eldians being unable to even use this power despite having the founder, unless they have royal blood, and we see Eren Yeager have this problem. However, if a holder of the founding Titan manages to gain complete access to Ymir's power, they can turn any subject of Ymir into a pure Titan. This is how the Eldian army was able to use pure Titans in battle during the height of their glory, and back then, they didn't have Karl Fritz's vow, so there was no one stopping them from using Ymir's abilities. But that's not the only way to create a pure Titan, because most of the Titans across the show have been created using a separate method. Marley has historically used the spinal fluid of Eldians with royal blood and injected it into the other subjects of Ymir to turn them into pure Titans. These subjects were then sent off to the walls around Paradise Island to prevent the much-feared Island Devils from having a chance at escaping. After Zeke became a warrior as the holder of the Beast Titan, we saw his spinal fluid being used for this purpose because his mother, Dinah Fritz, was a descendant of the royal bloodline. In Season 4, Zeke infuses his spinal fluid into the wine distributed among the military in Paradise Island. This allows Zeke to turn a good chunk of them into pure Titans, once during his attempt to escape from Levi at the Forest of Giant Trees, and another during the time he turned some members from the Garrison, Survey Corps, and the military police into pure Titans following Marley's attack on Paradise in Season 4, Part 2. Of course, a trigger is needed to turn these people who have consumed the fluid into Titans, and in Zeke's case, it's been a very specific beastly roar. If a person is not the subject of Ymir, no amount of Fritz's special spinal fluid can turn them into a pure Titan. Unlike the Titan shifters, pure Titans are not created via the consumption of an inheritor. However, pure Titans slaughter and consume humans for the sole purpose of consuming a shifter, because this would allow them to return to their human form. They do not like being trapped in a mindless state. They may not have the necessary intelligence or emotional range to feel strongly, but consumption for the sake of being a human again works more as a default setting within them. The reason why the areas beyond the walls never ran out of Titans until the end of Season 3 was because Marley continued to turn the subjects of Ymir into pure Titans, and they subsequently sent them off to the walls of Paradise. The thing is, Titans were never created to reproduce in the first place. The other species on the planet can reproduce, but they are supposed to inhabit her. Humans have the need for self-preservation, and so do animals. Titans are more of a war power and a genetic anomaly in an otherwise normal world. The Titan powers were inorganically and forcefully continued via the means of spinal fluid injection and consumption, which is also an extension of the human need for self-preservation. It is the result of human beings trying to preserve their otherworldly powers. Because Titans are not a species separate from humans, reproduction as a concept is kind of a moot point when it comes to them. Marvelous verdict! The trailer for the final part of Attack on Titan is now out, and manga readers know that we're about to get a lot more information about the Titans. In fact, it may just clear a lot of your doubts about how the mechanisms of a Titan's body may work. We don't want to spoil anything for anime onlys, but know that anatomy is a far more important thing in AOT-verse than it is in your average fantasy media. That's all for this time, but stay safe out there, thanks for watching, and have a Titanic day.